Welcome back to Media7, where I'm discussing local body races in the media with Ross Pringle of Wanganui, Joanna McLeod of Wellington, Lani Sota of the Far North and Tom Conroy of Southland. Now, Ross, let's head back to Wanganui. The interesting thing is I think we're agreed that Michael Laws is a presence in the campaign. He's not even standing for mayor again, is he?
No, he announced early on that he would not be seeking re-election. And of course he did that last time and then changed his mind at the last minute. So there was some speculation about whether that would happen again. It didn't. He stayed true to his word, and that's opened up an interesting race.
Now, Joe, all the candidates that you interviewed or sent questionnaires to seem to be very much in favour of public transport and cycling. Are they just saying that because they know what kind of website you are?
Well, the Wellington Easter is a very much public transport, cycling question, and one of the questions that we did ask was, what's your favourite bus route, or describe your bicycle to us? So everyone has said that public transport is an important issue and that cycling is a good thing, and maybe they don't take the bus or cycle, but it's good that other people do. But I think what we need to see is whether or not they're pro-roads as well as being pro-transport, because there's a lot of talk about building more roads in Wellington, which we do not need. And I think it's really short-sighted to build more roads because you're just going to get more cars and blah, blah, blah. So I think, yes, I would like to say that people do know our website and that they're pandering to our readers, but I'm not actually sure if they do or not. But the question being that we asked about a favourite bike and a favourite bus route, I think they could guess where we were coming from on that one.
What I'm hearing from people in Wellington, it's not just from you, is that the Dominion Post has been remarkably light on its local body campaign coverage. What's happened there?
I can't think of anything that I've seen in the Dominion Post about local body. I mean, admittedly, I don't read it cover to cover every day, but nothing has stood out in my mind. I think it's sort of, people are sort of thinking that it's a given that Kerry's going to win, and and so they're not thinking it's a very exciting election race at all, because it's, you know, same old, same old.
Because from the distance of Auckland, it looks like you've got 3, maybe 4 credible mayoral candidates. It should be an exciting campaign.
Well, that's the problem, because a lot of people don't want Kerry back in power, but because there are a couple other credible candidates, they're going to split the vote, and Kerry's going to get through, because all the people who don't want Kerry don't have one person to get behind. They're going to get behind 2 or 3 people.
Now, Lani, we talked about issues up north, and you mentioned the environment. Is that a big one, you know, across the board, or only with part of the electorate?
I think across the board that there are a lot of people there that are concerned about environmental issues, particularly our waterways. You know, we've got a protest which is happening this coming week for the hearings on a 25-year plan for the sewage system in Rawene, which runs out to the Hokianga Harbour. And I think that everyone that I've interviewed and people in the community, they get really passionate about keeping our waterways clean. You know, like, it's not a recreational pastime for us. We feed our families out of that harbour, and it's something that certainly the Māori community take on board strongly as being kaitiaki of our area, and I think that we feel as though we're not at the table. So, you know, when it comes to trying to encourage our people to get out there and enrol and vote, I know that there's a lot more conversation happening.
So that's been part of your role on the station, is to encourage people at least to enrol, because the turnout's traditionally pretty low amongst Māori up north, isn't it?
It is pretty low, and we represent over 40% of the population there. So I think that if we all sort of banded together and at least got behind people that we feel are going to be a voice for us and for the environment and the community, I think it'll make a difference. But the conversations that are happening at the moment are more around mobilising for protest movements or mobilising for environmental issues than there are
rather
about
than simply mailing the envelope away and voting.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I think that there's, I think that the Far North District Council has a lot of work to do to get people back on side and to really listen to what particularly the tangata whenua, the Māori voice, is trying to sort of say. We don't want to take over anything, we don't want to be picketing all the time, we just want to know that in the next 25 years raw sewage isn't going to be going into our harbour.
Tom, not every region, of course, enjoys its own TV channel. What do you think the effect is in places where there is regional television?
It's the provision of video content. The proactive candidates have taken the video content and put it on across multimedia, YouTube.
Right, so they've been able to take away their video of...
One or two people have seen the light and said, right, we can take this and use it in various places. My profile is there in video form, other people, the screeds of writing. And we talk about the media generating interest. It's actually up to the candidates to generate interest about themselves. That's how they encourage people to vote for them. I think a lot of people sit back on a very small budget, stick a placard in a few gardens and hope for the best. Those who I think are leading the way are those who are coming to us, whether it be TV or paper, and say, right, what sort of campaign can I get good value for? I'm serious about this. I want to show that I'm serious about this. And I think that's why we've seen so many people do television this time, because about 12 out of the 32 candidates took up the panel option. Only $150. We're not doing it as a money-making thing.
So they have to pay to get on TV?
It's a token gesture, though. It doesn't cover the costs, if you know what TV costs. But it's a community service, and you don't want the freeloaders. You want people who are serious. Even the mayoral debate, that was just a fundraiser. They paid $150 and we gave some money to charity. It's not a generator. We're a conduit. We went out to the people and said, you send in the questions for the mayors. We're not going to ask any. And we've got 100 different questions. And I think we got through about 60 on the day. All sorts of things about whether they wanted a republic or not. They just want to know the people. The only place to go and actually know the personalities is on the box.
Joe, has there been anyone in the Wellington race who's been particularly good on marketing in the sense that Tom said?
Jack Young's been advertising himself very, very heartily through social media channels, so blogs, through Twitter. But I think the issue there is I'm not entirely sure if he's marketing himself through any other channels, because he's pitching himself to an urban audience because his big campaign issue is Wi-Fi. And so I think he's only talking to the people who are already on those channels, and I'm not sure if he's reaching out.
And we're talking free Wi-Fi in the CBD.
Yes.
So all those 500 people who value that are definitely going to vote for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Ross, who's the star in Wanganui, apart from the obvious? Who do you think has impressed with their personality?
Oh, that's hard to pick. There's a couple of front runners come to mind in terms of the mayoral race. But there's a couple of characters out there as well. We've got a bloke who goes by the name of Django, and that is his legal name, and it is the only name he uses.
Top man.
And people might have dismissed him because he doesn't have a phone, he doesn't have the internet, and that made it very difficult when we were emailing election questions to him. But aside from that, he's a very intelligent man. And we did profiles on all our mayoral candidates, and his answers came across very well. But there's probably two front runners that stand out, and of course that then raises the option of vote splitting and somebody coming through the middle. So it's going to be interesting, but it's hard to pick one person that really comes out. We do have one candidate who's trying to inject a bit of colour. His campaign slogan is "Vote for the short fat Māori." So he's trying to make a name for himself and trying to inject a bit of humour around the council table. So I'm good on him for that. But.
Oh no, we all need that. Well, that does conclude our discussion. Now we'll see soon enough what the voters think. Now, clichés in journalism are hard to avoid. A recent study revealed "at the end of the day" was the most used cliché of them all. It appeared 21,000 times in 25,000 newspapers and magazines around the world in 3 months. And possibly the phrase "a recent study revealed" finished close to the top 2. Sarah Daniel talks to journalist Jane Clifton about clichés in their natural home, the world of politics.
Clichés, I've heard a few. Here at Parliament, but not at the end of the day, I talk clichés with political journalist Jane Clifton.
So Jane, here we are in what some might call cliché central. You must have heard some shockers here.
The worst time is the budget speech, really. That, you know, it doesn't matter what party's in. They take the same sorts of platitudes and slogans and they string them together. Grammatically, I'll give them that. But it just drives you nuts, you know, capacity building, sustainability, you know, poised to take advantage of any upturn in the economy, putting faith in our public sector, rebuilding, re-strengthening. This government's favourite at the moment is rebalancing. It's very seldom that you get a really meaningful statement in a budget speech.
So what about our leader? How does he offend on the cliché spectrum?
John Key's great skill is garbling things sometimes, and something went wrong in one of the coalition partners, and you know his practice is not to get involved in their MPs' debates and squabbles, and he said, "Look, I'm not judge, jury and executioner," which was just priceless. But often what the function they form is kind of euphemism and misdirection, like Helen Clark's famous, and I'll try and do the voice, moving on. We must move on. And of course, you know, once someone has said it in that totemic sort of way, you feel a bit sort of niggly going back and saying, yes, but what about this? Because, you know, she's spoken in capital letters, we're moving on. Because in politics, you often can't say what you think. Like, you know, a typical example is when an MP when the leader says, you know, Joe Brown has made a very valuable contribution. Now, if you're Joe Brown, at that point, your blood should run cold, because that means that's shorthand for saying we're trying to get rid of him. So that's a sort of humane code.
One of my personal pet hates is closure.
Closure's a bad one for all sorts of reasons, because it's very lazy. And the idea that people who've been through tragedies ever get closure, ever get to the end of it is just forlorn, you know. I really dislike the overuse of icon. I mean, all sorts of things are iconic now, you know. Iconic cafes, iconic, you know, soccer players. I mean, you know, it's just the whole currency is being devalued, I think. And I think it's particularly a problem in the electronic media, because they've got so little time that the shorthand factor does come in, you know. It's just easier to say the cliche. Everyone knows what you're talking about. You don't, you know, it's a time-saving device, I sometimes think.
I think about Tony Blair. I couldn't believe that he named his book A Journey, which makes him sound like a Dancing with the Stars contestant rather than some political heavyweight. What was he thinking?
Right. That's right. And do you know who else called their autobiography A Journey, or My Journey? Donna Awatiri. This was before she got to the part on the journey where she ended up in prison. But, you know, that's another cliche. You know, we're always on a journey. We're always moving, going forward.
And when they use it, they seldom are actually on a journey.
No, they've reached a dead end.
Well, our journey is over and we are reaching closure, because that's our show for this week. Thanks to Ross Pringle, Joanna McLeod, Lani Sauter, Tom Conroy and Jane Clifton. And as ever, thanks to you for watching. We'll be back with Media 7 at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.